Previously on Cosmic Fury.
But after that, I became a wolf ninja.
Oh, that's quite the downgrade from dinosaur.
Oh, I'm pretty sure one of Billy's old teammates might just disagree with you on that. And now, the end of the Power Rangers. For now, anyway. Alright, we're back. Part 3 of me reacting to History of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, the links to both will be in the description down below, and as well as in the little cards that you see at in the corner of the screen there. And before we get started, I noticed fairly recently, I was looking at the analytics for my channel, and I noticed that a huge chunk of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed to me. So if you like what you see, then please click subscribe, and also click the little notification bell at the bottom. That way you'll never miss a video from yours truly. So, with all that said, let's wrap this whole thing up, shall we? Let's go. Turn up the volume a bit. Alright, let's go.
Projecting part of the anti-Zord force field. As a result, if you destroy even one of them, you can punch a hole in it. He tells them to contact them on that frequency to coordinate their plans for the counterattack. On Eltar, we learn that Squilia's got a boyfriend.
He's so dreamy.
Ooh, I don't know, Squilia. That looks like the kind of guy who's got two sides to him. Anyway, thanks to the tracking device, Ollie and Bajilia prepare to head out to Eridus to finally destroy the Rangers, leading us to Episode 6, Takeoff. The engines need to be tested before they can lift off, so the Rangers are flying around in the Zords to make sure everything's safe.
Heads up. Approaching that seismic activity.
Whoa! A giant tentacle?
Who shall we have one sign the likes of which even God has never seen?
The creature is a fully grown scuttleworm, which the Zords take on during the engine test. The base is a vibration that needs to be repaired from the outside, Solon and Billy taking care of it, but they soon lose contact with Solon, and it's clear she was taken by the scuttleworms as food for their young. Ollie and Bajilia arrive in orbit and begin searching for the team, though fortunately, Billy was able to equip the base with a cloaking device. Zedd is able to use the Morphin Master staff to locate Solon, though the process exhausts him to the point of fainting. Unfortunately, since the villains can't locate them, they start firing randomly from orbit, which will wake up every scuttleworm on the planet. Zedd and Izzy head out to try to retrieve Solon, while the others go after the monster shooting at them. However, the two going to the cave are intercepted by Ollie, who explains how he find them.
Blah, blah, Ollie with the exposition. Who cares?
Hey now, Izzy, being glorified Wikipedia is basically my whole thing with this retrospective, don't knock it. Fern, overhearing how both teams are busy, takes the Cosmic Fury Morpher meant for Ollie and heads down into the cave. She doesn't intend to morph with it. The Morpher also has a blaster function, which also makes it pretty cool in my opinion. Fern frees Solon, but the Morpher is damaged in the fight, as are Solon's cybernetics. Fern tries to help her up, but the sparks from her electronic systems merge with the damaged Morpher, infusing it with some of Solon's DNA.
Science, huh? Ain't it a thing?
And transforms Fern into the Orange Ranger.
It's definitely spandex.
Dr. K starts frothing at the mouth somewhere and she doesn't know why. After the two rejoin the others, everyone retreats back to the ship and take off.
I was literally thinking the exact same thing when I first saw the episode. Which is like, oh, well, it's definitely spandex. I'm like, somewhere Dr. K's just like, that is not spandex! Like, oh my god. Me and Lewis were literally on the same level with this shit. I love it. I love it. I love him.
To disable the cloaking device to have maximum power. We cut over to Squilia as she hangs out with Heckle, saying he's the only bright spot in this boring assignment on Earth.
I think of myself as more of a shadowy menace.
Oh god, I missed you, Heckle. Anyway, Squilia is told by Zedd that the Cosmic Fury Rangers are on their way. Back over to the Astro Mega Henge, Solon fills in the others about Fern's rescue and how the Cosmic Fury Orb bonded with her during it. We get what was probably going to be the conclusion of the arc between Fern and Izzy, the latter accepting her as a Ranger and recognizing that her fears were unwarranted. Zedd, meanwhile, continues his grooming of Ollie.
There is a saying in this universe: no peace for the strongest, only survival.
That sounds really stressful and annoying.
Perhaps you would be happier in another job.
He says that all the other warlords and emperors who have come before him have lost and been destroyed.
But not you.
No,
He lost like 100 times and was eventually turned to dust, or a yuppie depending on your point of view. Still, Zedd explains that the only way to truly survive is to be the most powerful being there is, which he thinks the Morphin Master energy will grant him. Now on to episode 7, Operation Seasoning. The Rangers arrive at Earth, Zato having slept the entire journey. The title refers to their plan. Tarek's spy will disable the squid drill over Pine Ridge, while the 2 Megazords the Cosmic Fury Rangers have will remain in orbit. In theory, they'll cause a chain reaction that disables the anti-Zord field, and the 2 Megazords, the Dragon Zord creates another Megazord, didn't mention it earlier, will attack, take out the remaining squid drills, and open up the prisons to free the other Ranger teams. On board Squillia's ship, Heckle tries to get the villainess to leave the ship and go on a spa day, but her general convinces her to stay. Don't sweat it, Squillia. Heckle's just introducing you to the boomerang to your face challenge that's all over TikTok.
Unleash the power. Dino Charge, Dark Ranger.
I would just like to note that Dino Charge is now up to 11 Rangers! And okay, a bit of an explanation is needed here. There were rumors at the time of Dino Charge that
a lot of people I know that are Power Ranger fans, specifically the hosts of the Grid podcast, which I can't stress enough is a lot of fun. If you love Power Rangers, give them a listen. It's great. They lost their shit when Heckle not only came back, but became a proper Ranger. Now, I have no real attachment to the Dino Charge seasons. I thought that the first half was decent overall, and the second half, or Dino Supercharge, was just okay. But I thought Heckle was the best part of Dino Supercharge, so when I heard rumors that he was going to be in this and that he would finally become an actual Power Ranger, I was really excited. Especially because I had made that comparison where I said that he's like the Power Rangers equivalent of Tom Hiddleston's Loki, and especially given Loki's character arc, it's actually a pretty fair comparison. And now that we've seen Heckle's character arc, yeah, no, it is a very fitting comparison. So to all the Dino Charge fans that were excited to see Heckle back, shout out to you.
Heckle was going to become another Ranger thanks to the Dark Energem. This mostly stemmed from the toys, where if you put the Spinosaurus Dino Charger into the Morpher, it would announce it was for the Talon Ranger. Thus, fans speculated that the Talon Ranger was going to be their version of the character Death Ryuger from the Sentai. However, it's been revealed that the Talon Ranger was actually an early name for Xenowing's Silver Ranger. They had no plans to use the Death Ryuger suit because the character came from Kyo Ryuger's movie. Thus, different rights and more money would have to be spent on it. However, rights issues are bullcrap, so the same cannot be said for the Boom Studios comics, wherein Heckle appeared as a character and indeed became the Dark Ranger thanks to the Dark Energem. And for whatever reason, they decided to bring that whole thing over to this season, though apparently he has the wrong helmet for Death Ryuger. Simon Bennett just said that that was the helmet Toei provided them with the suit. Now, me personally, I think they should have just gone with calling him the Talon Ranger here. Nothing against the concept or Heckle becoming a Ranger, but quite frankly, if you're going to call a character the Dark Ranger, their outfit should look really dark. Black being the primary color scheme. Heckle's Dark Ranger is primarily
black.
navy
At least
blue,
have, like, the
red
purple
arms, and
be a
white
bit more
gloves,
muted.
plus a really huge gold arm fin thing. It is a meh color scheme to match something with the descriptor Dark Ranger. The Phantom Ranger is more what I would think of as a Dark Ranger. And I would just like to note that if you count Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury together, Dino Charge has made appearances in every Ranger series since its airing. Weird, isn't it? Anyway, no explanation is given how or why Heckle got here. Sure, the dimensional teleport tech from Wes, but were they summoning help from the other universes to come to their aid and only Heckle was available? Unfortunately, the Dark Ranger fails and Heckle is captured. The force field remains up as the Megazords are disabled after entering the atmosphere. Operation Seasoning has failed before we've hit the 7-minute mark of the episode. I know the first casualty in a battle is the plan, but it's kind of impressive how badly this went. All the Rangers except for Zato and Ion are captured, the former using the Morphin Master Staff to send the Zords away for safekeeping, but yet again Zato collapses. They hole up with Tarek's resistance cell as Solon is brought in. When he regains consciousness, we learn what exactly is up. The Morphin Masters didn't exactly bring Zato back to life. They filled him up with their own magical energy, an energy that he draws from whenever he uses their staff to perform tasks. And without the Morphin Masters to refill the tank, Zato is quickly using up what's keeping him alive. Pop arrives with some gifts from General Shaw at Grid Battle Force. the teleporter devices used to transport massive objects like the Morphex towers. The new plan is to grab the squid drill and beam it right into the local prison, simultaneously disabling the force field and freeing the other Rangers. Strangely, this is yet another opportunity for a Rick and Morty clip.
We just teleported into a galactic federal prison. I'm gonna go take a shit.
The problem is they need time to set up the devices without getting caught, so Zedd volunteers to use his magic, which of course Ion and Solon have a bit of an objection to.
It's been less than 5 minutes since we've learned that magic sucks the life out of you like a 6-foot mosquito.
Zedd says that ultimately this is his choice and there are bigger things at stake than his own life. He also has them swear this to secrecy so nobody worries about him and they can focus on the task at hand. So anyway, about that distraction.
Oh, yeah. I love that they did that.
Operation Growth Hormones is go. The plan goes off without a hitch, though instead of smashing the prison, it just disables its shields, and the Rafconians aid the prison break. The Rangers reunite and morph to fight Squillia and her Sentinels. With the force field down, our heroes summon the Zords and begin destroying squid drills to cut off reinforcements. They capture Squillia and plan to interrogate her.
From one ex-bad guy to another. Not bad.
Someone else can take the next tentacle-related mission, though.
Oh, she was that kind of streamer, eh? Anyway, next up is episode 8, Switching Sides. Zedd is informed of Earth's ongoing liberation and Squillia's capture.
And my cats are playing with their spiral toys again. That's the noise you probably heard over this, so... Sorry. Although, funny enough, I think Lewis has cats of his own, and they sometimes pop in to his Atop of Fourth Wall reviews. So, you know, hey, that's another thing we have in common. I'm telling you, folks, you know, it's meant to be. It's meant to be. Hopefully they're done. Okay, she's just getting a drink of water now. Back to this.
And he does not give a rat's ass about either, since neither are relevant to his plan. Vigilia, however, is worried about her brand image if she doesn't go rescue her daughter, so is going to go retrieve her. Speaking of, our heroes try to use their Rafconian telepathy to glean her mind for information, and learn nothing. Sadly, while she was present around Zedd a lot of the time, she was not paying attention to anything being said, only on her own vapid interests. The rest of our heroes return after successfully liberating several countries.
Kona, mates. New Zealand is officially totally free.
And free of Power Rangers, too. Apparently, regardless of the future of the franchise, production has officially left New Zealand after moving there in 2003. Yeah. Billy contacts the others to inform them that the Mighty Morphin Rangers have been liberated and they're going to deal with the remaining squidrills, leaving our heroes to ponder their next move. They want to free Ollie, which their current plan is to destroy his Dinohenge statue, severing his connection to the morphing grid, and consequently his corrupted energy. Ion finishes closing up his cafe until the crisis is over, when who should he run into entertaining people but Slyther and Mucus, still in human form after the events of Dino Fury. He reads their minds to discover how they survived and how they have reformed. They were perfectly happy running their circus when Zedd's invasion happened, destroying everything they built. Ion recruits them. Their shape-shifting and illusion powers will allow them to infiltrate Zedd's base and get close enough to destroy Ollie's Dinohenge statue. Mucus laments that she wants to help, but the charm she used to become human has her locked in a human body.
I gotta say, Slyther and Mucus grew on me. You'd think I'd find them to be just as annoying as Jenna and Jayborg, but surprisingly enough, I actually thought they were funnier than Jenna and Jayborg. Like, I preferred them over Jenna and Jayborg, and I think that's because, unlike the actors that play Jenna and Jayborg, I thought these two had really good chemistry with each other whenever they were on screen together. It kind of goes back to what I said before with the actors that played Bulk and Skull, Paul Schreier and Jason Narby. Those two had really good chemistry with each other, and I feel like the same can be said for the actors that play Slyther and Mucus. Plus, I believe their voice actors actually play their human forms here, so that's really cool. I really appreciate that detail. Anyway, back to this.
Absolutely hates.
Nobody should have to feel like they don't belong in their body.
Power Rangers just said trans rights. Hell yeah. And yes, Simon Bennett confirmed that that's what they were going for. Honestly, they probably should have just said it outright. As I said earlier, there were people pissed about lesbians in Power Rangers and think that's grooming. Just go whole hog at this point.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
Zedd uses his magic to restore Mucus to her mushroom form, causing Zedd to yet again collapse. You know, the fact that Mucus could so thoroughly reform, stop being evil entirely, raises a lot of ethical issues about the Sporix beasts, what it means to be evil, and if it's actually possible for them all to reform. Is it moral to keep them imprisoned in their little gooey forms when they have the ability to change and giant robot fight go? Bajilia shows up at the warehouse to retrieve her daughter, but they fight them off and eventually turn him to dust. And I'm sure we'll never see Bajilia again. Slyther changes into Squillia, and the two former villains head out to take a squidrill, Mucus posing as Squillia's lawyer. Also this.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Ion and Solon do a terrible job trying to deflect everyone's concerns over Zedd, and when he awakens, he admits to everything.
Wow, they held the tension for a full second.
Nah, actually this works out. Zedd admits that seeing Mucus so uncomfortable living a lie was similar to how he was forcing his best friends to do the same by lying for him. He says they'll all get through this together, and we get a nice moment of a group hug before they get a transmission from Slyther informing them that Zedd's base is on Eltar. That night, the two villains sneak into the chamber with the Dino Henge statue.
As your lawyer, I advise we blow stuff up.
Mucus was the top student of Lionel Hudson Law School.
By hiring me as your lawyer, you also get this smoking monkey.
They set off an alarm by touching the statue, but surprisingly the dynamite still goes off, blowing it up and reverting Ollie to his civilian mode. They beg him to switch sides and help.
L-O-V-E, the Emperor of Evil. X-Y, Lord C, the Emperor of Evil. L-O-V-E, the Emperor of Evil. X-Y, Lord C, the Emperor of Evil.
But that's not exactly on the table.
My lord.
Boy.
He says that they should suffer for betraying their emperor.
I'm not a lawyer. I need a lawyer.
I move for a bad court thingy.
Thus we move into our penultimate episode, Master Plan. Solon has failed to find an alternative to reversing or recharging Zedd, so they tell him not to use magic anymore to try to preserve his life.
I promise. I'm only going to do what's right for the team.
Zedd contacts them to gloat not only that their plan to save Ollie failed, but that Bajilia has regrown. They're going to torture the captured villains, only for Ollie to turn his gun on them and warn the Rangers of Zedd's plan, to turn himself into a Morphin Master. Unfortunately, Zedd quickly recovers and blasts him back while cutting the feed. Zedd says that while Zedd couldn't destroy the morphing grid, he could sever the Rangers' connection to it and use its power for evil, so naturally they need to stop him. Amelia declares they're gonna leave now to go stop him, but Billy takes her aside and discourages her from going right away. Earth has been mostly liberated, but Ranger teams have been fighting across the universe to counter Zedd's forces, resulting in a lot of destruction and refugees.
Our forces are having to take them to New Tech City back on Earth.
And that, my friends, is our explanation why in SPD aliens are living on Earth in such large numbers. Bravo, Cosmic Fury! You didn't need to explain that plot point. You didn't need to make the story fit the future depicted in SPD, but you actually took the time to do so. If you're gonna have continuity porn, there's no better time than an anniversary. Anyway, Billy wants her to wait until the other Ranger teams are ready to assist. Hit him with an overwhelming force, but she insists.
I get what you're saying. But this rescue mission is the right thing for my team to do.
I really wish they had included one line here, again, for drama purposes. A response to that line with Billy asking, the right thing for the team? Or right thing for her? Sure, she's been able to power on through despite Ollie's mind control up until now, but now he's free and in danger. Plant the seed that maybe this rescue is more about her feelings than about stopping Zedd. But in any case, they don't know Zedd's timetable for absorbing the Morphin Master's energy, so it isn't necessarily a bad idea to try to stop him now.
As my mentor Zordon would say, may the power protect you.
And then he'd yell at us for breaking his stuff. They soon arrive at Eltar.
Zedd has unique taste in architecture.
Actually, that's just the government building. They decided to finally drop the pretense. Inkworth, Bazilia's butler, who's been barely a character up until now, grows giant to try to destroy them.
That fish is gonna get battered.
Tommy Cannon!
Since it's the second to last episode and we need to eat through some footage, the Rangers combine all their Zords together to form the Cosmic Fury Ultra Zord to finish him off. Yep. It's kind of mad to me, not only because they're not all in a single cockpit, though it makes sense they wouldn't make a set for one for just a single scene like this. Anyway, our heroes storm the castle and free Ollie, Slyther, and Mucus. Unfortunately, Bajilia set a trap for them. They're sealed up, the teleportation signal is blocked, and the place is rigged to blow in 20 seconds.
A countdown to destruction?
He said it! He said it! Ooh, is that a Doctor Who sonic screwdriver? Nice.
With no other choice, Zato uses the last of his magical energy to create a protective shield around the team. Zato is pulled back into the morphing grid, but Ion, refusing to let him go, has his consciousness pulled along for the ride. They head back to the base ship to plan their next move. Slyther attends to Ion.
He could be dreaming, or something. I'm a doctor of circus, not medicine.
Don't worry, Mucus is a lawyer of circus too, so you're on the same wavelength. Yeah. They detect the Master Captivator, but aren't sure they'll be strong enough to take down Zedd, especially since they're down two Rangers. However, Ollie thinks they can use the...
It's like the opposite of, Bones in Star Trek. I'm a doctor, not a da-da-da-da. I'm a magician, not a doctor.
Element of surprise, since the villains must assume they're all dead, and combine all their individual weapons together, hoping that'll be enough. Zato's morpher, left behind after he became one with the Force or whatever, begins to glow blue, signaling that it's passing on to Ollie. Unfortunately, they're too late as they arrive.
The energy of every Morphin Master now resides within me!
Good upgraded look for him. It's basically taking the design elements of his regular appearance and amplifying...
I love the Emperor's Zedd look. It is so fucking... Oh my god, I love it, I love it, I love it. I mean, look, you risk, trying to alter or, add more stuff to an already iconic design that Lord Zedd already has, but the fact that this still works in conjunction with it is just, props to the production team for that. Yeah. Now this, I wish they made an action figure of. I would so buy that. I would so buy that. And make a little throne for him, or I'm sure some person online makes custom thrones for action figures or whatever. Buy one of those, put Emperor Zedd on a throne. Mwah. That would be a perfect display piece. That'd be so great. Even if you don't know what it is, you'd be like, oh, that's cool, what is this? So, anyway, back to this.
Them while adding some more regal qualities like the cape that resembles the Morphin Master's. He carves his letter into the cliffside.
A giant N?
What? No, it's a Z.
Oh, shut up, Lord Ned. Actually, he calls himself Master Zedd now, and they try to use the combined weapons on him, but it does nothing. They summon the Zords to try to hit him with everything they've got, and Zedd annihilates them each with a single shot.
If Dark Spectre could see me now!
Good idea. Does anyone have a torpedo designed to blow up a planet on them? Ollie and Amelia realize that since Zedd now has the power of the Morphin Masters, they can use the Master Captivator to capture him just like the villains had done with the actual Morphin Masters. However, it seems they weren't the only ones with that idea. Bajilia and Scrozzle beam down and use it on Zedd themselves. This had been Bajilia's plan from day one, and they intend to shatter the energy tube.
A wave of pure evil will sweep the universe, purging the cosmos of all that is good.
Can I just say, what an ingenious final plan for the villains for the 30th anniversary. Taking Zordon's sacrifice and the original Z-Wave and flipping it on its head to wipe out the forces of good the same way they were once wiped out. Oh, but it gets better, because remember, Bajilia's the CEO of a corporation.
And yes, this will be bad for workers' rights, but those of us in the arms trade will make bank.
I've said it over and over, but now it really is true. The greatest enemy of Power Rangers is money. For what may be the final season of the original continuity, they're fighting capitalism. Hell, they're not only utilizing the Z-Wave for this, but they were funding and promoting and merchandising Lord Zedd for this whole thing. The villain utilizes the capitalistic exploitation of nostalgic imagery for their own greed.
Message, Spock? None that I'm conscious of.
Man, I've got Star Trek on the brain for some reason. Mucus and Slyther beam down to help the Rangers, while Solon puts out a distress call to all other Rangers.
I'm surprised that, Hasbro never picked up on that. But, yeah, no, like, that was so clever of them. So damn clever. You know, for all the you know, because there have been some fans that weren't happy with Cosmic Fury, but I'll get into that once this is done, and I give my own thoughts on Cosmic Fury. But yeah, no, I wish more people picked up on this, but yeah, no, I love that Alwyn Dale and Becca Barnes did that. They're the head writers of the Cosmic Fury seasons. Shout out to the two of them. They did great stuff. But anyway, back to this.
It's out a distress call to all other Ranger teams in the universe to warn them of what's up. And this leads us into our final episode of Cosmic Fury and 30 years of Power Rangers. The end. Ion finds himself in a void, confronted by Zato the White here. Slyther and Mucus attack in a stolen squidrill, saving our heroes. Vigilia summons her fleet of squidrills to blockade the planet and prevent them from escaping. In the void, the figure claims to not be Zato, that Ion's mind is just seeing what he wants to see. The figure does recognize the words Zedd and Rangers, but he doesn't remember anything, only that the morphing grid has connected the two of them. The reformed villains try to clear a path for the Rangers through the blockade, but there are simply too many and they have to retreat to the Rangers' ship. Fortunately, help arrives thanks to Solon's mayday. Billy in the original Megazord, alongside the Astro Megazord, the Galaxy Megazord, the Ninja Blaze Megazord, and the Beast X Megazord. I'm a little disappointed by these choices. Not that it isn't cool to see them all, just that given that this is supposedly the end of the original continuity, I would have preferred a representative from each era of the show. Still, point is, the Squidrills are all being handed.
Also, like, I get that it's trying to be like the end game final battle where it's like, oh, everybody's here. Like, I wish they could have done some variation of that, because clearly that's what this is trying to emulate. But if you're gonna do that, at least go a little further. Like, have every Megazord from every Power Rangers season, like all of them. Why not? If not that, just get a bunch of stunt people to dress as various Ranger teams from throughout the years and have them pop up to, like, maybe help out in some way. Although, then again, they kind of already did this before with Super Mega Force, and, well, we know how that turned out. So, whatever. It is what it is. Let's keep going.
Handled by the Megazords. Unfortunately, a Sentinel gets tossed into the Master Captivator, cracking the glass on it. While the Rangers have the thing, it's now only a matter of time before it ruptures. The figure is able to locate Zato in the morphing grid, but says that his mortal life is completely over. He says he can help in other ways too, but that also Ion's friends need him and he'll send him back.
There's something I used to say in times such as these. May the power protect you.
Oh my god, guys. I think it's Gosei! Fern suggests taking the Captivator somewhere where it can blow safely.
If it's anything like Zordon's wave, it'll reach every corner of the universe.
Yeah, I mean, after all, the Z-Wave certainly wiped out Scorpius, Lothor, the Trubian Empire, Moltor and Flurius, the Fear Cats, the Warstar Insects, the Armada, Galvanax, Madame Odious, and about 50 gajillion other minor villains and monsters out there. And you know, some of those villains I didn't mention weren't affected because they were stored in other dimensional realms and whatnot. Surely somebody knows how to send it to, like, the Dark Dimension or something? Actually, they do take me up on that idea, but in this case, their choice is the morphing grid itself, which seems like a terrible idea since I feel like it could corrupt it and turn the grid evil, but whatever, they've got a plan.
There's only been one place we've been able to access the grid directly before.
The altar of Zordnia.
What about when Beast Morphers access the grid directly for power or sending out distress signals? Or Hartford managing to send Alpha into the morphing grid? Sorry if I'm suddenly bringing continuity into this 30th anniversary season that features tons of continuity references. Anyway, they head to Zordnia and Javi is prepared to use the staff again despite the risk. Ollie suggests that maybe the problem is that they need to share the danger, all together putting the staff in instead of just one person taking the brunt of it. Somehow I feel like this will result in all of you losing an arm, but it doesn't matter for the moment because Vigilia shows up, having stowed away on their ship. Somehow, and like any real CEO, she doesn't know when to friggin' quit already. They blast her, but...
Are you kidding me?
And just like a CEO, to continue to ruin things even after they're gone. The Rangers try to put the staff in, but it's pulled away. by Zedd, who has become a Morphin Master. He brings them all into the Master Captivator to confront Zedd. However, it's not to fight him. They're all energy inside of the tube, so this is just a way for them to communicate with a familiar point of reference. Zedd explains to Zedd what's going to happen with the tube, and Zedd thinks he'll rule unopposed. But, of course, they point out that when this happened to Zordon, he didn't stick around after. This will kill him.
It's like you told me. No peace for the strongest. Only survival.
And thus the ultimatum. Zedd can save Zedd's life, but only if he relinquishes the power of the Morphin Masters, become what he was before. He refuses at first, but Ollie reminds him that there's no point in being this powerful if it's just gonna make him go poof. This is his only chance for survival, and he finally accepts. Zedd does so, and in a flash of light, it appears that Zedd has grown giant-sized and destroyed the Rangers, having betrayed them after releasing the power. However...
Zeddy? Would you shut your trap? Rita! I told you not to bother me at work!
Naturally, it's all an illusion. They're back on Nibiru, the nightmare planet that Zedd and Ion ended up on last season while retrieving some of their Zords. Zedd will be forced to live out the rest of his days in this place until he's reformed. The same thing will happen to any other evil force that tries to rescue him. Though, couldn't they beam him up from orbit or something? Zedd suggests that maybe Lord Zedd can be redeemed, that even he's capable of becoming a force for good.
You want a straw, too? You're so ungrateful. At least you have lips.
The hero we always needed. The Morphin Masters aren't certain how Zedd became one of them, but Ion speculates that the being he encountered in the grid probably helped to do it, though even the Morphin Masters are unsure of who that was. Zedd says his farewells to them, as his time as a mortal is over. Our heroes head home, Javi performing a concert with a song called May the Power Protect You, which Billy thinks is cool since that was Zordon's catchphrase.
Javi got that from me. It's what the being in the void said to me.
Wait. What? You've got to tell me everything.
Santara gives birth to Amelia's sister and is named after Pop Pop. And with Zedd watching them from the morphing grid, that's where we end it. And really, there's only one thing to sum up this season and the rest of Power Rangers as a whole.
Cool, coolio.
Yeah.
Power Rangers Cosmic Fury is very good. It is not great. I've discussed already the big problem with it, that it doesn't push its dramatic elements as far as they should. Now, I've heard that part of that is Hasbro's fault, that they insisted things can't be too sad, can't have characters too upset, which is a major detriment for narrative, and I would hope that they would see that going forward. Maybe that's why I had Star Trek on the brain. Gene Roddenberry had edicts in place during the early seasons of The Next Generation, that humans had to be perfect, no disagreements or arguments, no mourning the dead, because in his super special future utopia, humanity didn't do those kinds of things. And that frankly makes for boring-ass stories. But Cosmic Fury is not boring. In fact, one of the great things about this season being only 10 episodes is that there's a ton of momentum. You're never bored with the show because the narrative is always moving forward. The threat of Lord Zedd, Ollie's mind control, getting stranded on Eridus, etc. And yet it doesn't feel like it's moving so fast that there's no chance for dramatic moments. This is the first time in a long while where I watched the season once before doing it again for this history video. It was that good. Mind you, again, having only 10 episodes helped a lot with that. While it wasn't a massively thorough revisit to every past Ranger season, while we didn't have tons and tons of cameos from across the franchise, an army of Rangers ready to stand and fight Lord Zedd in a final battle or anything like that, it still showed immense respect for its past. It built on what came before, both in the ultimate plan of the villains, while also making sure we remembered that these Rangers were more than worthy to hold up the legacy of this show. I expressed after Once and Always my fear that they'd undo Zordon's death. And they didn't. We can presume the being in the void was him, but even if it was, that's not the same thing as a full-on resurrection to capitalize on nostalgia. It was our beloved mentor helping out the Rangers one last time from wherever he was, helping resolve the situation not with violence, but wisdom. And what a way to defeat Zedd after everything that's happened. Not with guns, not with some MacGuffin crystal or a Deus Ex Machina special effect explosion, but by getting him to surrender. And nobody would have guessed that.
All-out destruction is rarely the most optimal strategy.
I applaud the risks they did take, the barriers they did push against with it. I just really wish they had gone a little farther with it, because I know they could have done so much more. But even without that, Cosmic Fury is fun and interesting, with one of the best narratives of all to include all the team in some capacity contributing. This truly was a team effort, and although there wasn't as much character development with Izzy and Fern like was planned, the decisions they made still ultimately led to overall victory. Ion gets the lion's share of character development. Instead of being a goofball obsessed with food, having lost Zedd only to get him back and potentially lose him once more drove him to be more serious, and his appeal to Zordon led to Zeddo's ascension and their salvation. Amelia steps up as a leader, not only taking charge and bringing order to chaos, but being supportive and helpful, like redirecting Ion from moping about their decisions to cooking food for them while trapped on Eridus. She shows how worthy she was to be in the Red. And hey, the first proper main character female Red Ranger, that's gotta count for something. Javi's plot was the one that could definitely have gone on longer and with more intensity, but ultimately it led to their recovery of the Dragon Zord in a goofy but oh-so Power Rangers plan. And of course, it was Ollie being evil for most of the season that allowed him to learn the lesson from Zedd that got him to change his mind. From a behind-the-scenes note, apparently Kai Moya was unavailable for filming a lot of stuff with the others due to his own schedule, which influenced the decision to make him evil, and if that's true, then good job, production team. Once again, art from adversity, because that plotline was very enjoyable. Sadly, because Cosmic Fury was a non-union production, Barbara Goodson couldn't reprise her role as Rita, despite doing so for Once and Always. They got Susan Brady, the voice of the Mystic Mother, once again for the role. I have never been fond of her voice for Rita, but honestly I think this might be her best performance as the role. Well done there. On that note, I've seen a lot of people confused why this would be Zedd's hell, since after all, he did love Rita. He even grumbles about that to himself during this. And apparently they all forgot that these two bickered and argued and drove each other nuts all the damn time. They might have loved each other, but sometimes the people you love are the ones who annoy you the most. And sometimes hell isn't big tortures, but lots of little tortures continuously gnawing at you. And hey, just because they love each other doesn't mean they're good for each other.
Eesh. Definition of toxic relationship there.
So, where do we go from here? Well, this might just be the end. Simon Bennett is no longer the showrunner and has declared that this was made with the intention of it being the end of the 30-year, mostly continuous continuity. There has apparently been an announced reboot being headed by Jonathan Entwistle and Jenny Klein, though production was slowed by the various Hollywood strikes of 2023. Supposedly, this reboot will come out in 2025. If this is the end, then they went out on a high note. Not the best anniversary, but better than some other endings. Then again, given how many times this franchise has declared its ending, I'm sure I'll see you next time in whatever Power Rangers series ends up happening. I don't know yet if I'll continue History of Power Rangers with the reboot. As I said in the RPM videos that I made back in the day, I don't like reboots in different continuities. I want the story to continue, to see the next thing out there, and this series began with my desire to share insights about the thing from my childhood, this nostalgia trip I was having. Obviously, I'll keep working to restore old ones, whether they got Content ID claimed or rewritten, re-edited ones with better quality footage, but this might be the end of History of Power Rangers, because maybe that story belongs for someone else to tell. How this new reboot is their introduction to the franchise and they want to explore their feelings about it. But then again, I like making money and History of Power Rangers has continually proven to be the most popular thing I do. There's a reason I have When's the Next History of Power Rangers t-shirts. So I've made no decisions at the moment. All I know is that I love Power Rangers. I love tokusatsu. I love giant robots and I love rubber-suited monsters. Here's to what came before and here's to what comes next. Forever and always, may the power protect us all.
Cheers, Lewis. Ooh. Oh, now that I gotta get. Nice.
Nice. That doesn't sound like CEO behavior.
And if Genesis is indeed life from death, I must return to this place again.
Nice. Good clip to end it on, actually. Alright, there we go. That was History of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. I really appreciated a lot of Lewis's insight on this. And as for my own insight, well, take it away, future me. Power Rangers Cosmic Fury is an interesting entry in the long-running show's history. Fans went into it with a lot of expectations, and coming out of it, there were quite a few of them that were disappointed with what they saw. I wasn't one of them, though. I mostly enjoyed it the whole way through. I appreciated that because of the shortened amount of 10 episodes, the pacing never faltered and there were no episodes that dragged things out. There was no filler. Although ironically enough, the one episode that I feel would normally be thought of as filler, Rock Out, is my favorite episode of the season, so go figure. Now, is the season perfect? No, obviously there are still aspects that I feel could have been delved into more, but I appreciate that they at least made the effort to raise the dramatic stakes, even if they don't all land. For me, it's better that they at least tried than to not even make any sort of attempts at all. Admittedly, most of the gripes that I have with it involve the anniversary aspects. Going back to what Lewis mentioned before with the different Megazords that appear in the final episode, if they really wanted to emphasize this being the 30th anniversary of the show, they should have had returning characters that would represent every major era of the show's history. And look, on paper, it appears that it started out that way. Billy obviously represents the original Saban era, Heckle from Dino Charge represents the Neo-Saban era, and General Shaw and Scrozzle from Beast Morphers represent the Hasbro era. So why not have someone come back that's from the Disney era of the show? In fact, I just realized there's an easy way that they could have done this. They already had Kelson Henderson return as Mick from Ninja Steel, but fans know that's not the only significant character he played on the show. And we got a couple moments that tease the formation of SPD.
Our forces are having to take them to New Tech City back on Earth.
So why not go a bit further? Have Kelson Henderson reprise his character from that season. Boom. I don't see how they couldn't make that work unless, I don't know, they weren't really willing to pay an actor for more than one role. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. Look, aside from little fanboy gripes like that, I ultimately enjoyed Cosmic Fury a lot. As a capper to the Dino Fury saga, it's great. As a send-off to the main show as a whole, it's very solid. I feel like there was a real sense of confidence being projected by the show's production team at this point. Same goes for the performances from the main cast. We had been following these characters for 3 years, and by the end of it, I feel like their performances have only gotten better and better as it went on. And I'll just say it now, Zato's final goodbye had me all choked up. Also, before I forget, shout out to Bert Celine. He composed the music for this as well as both seasons of Dino Fury. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. If I am, I'm so sorry. You deserve some recognition for what you did. Shout out to you, dude. Great work. For a while now, I've been saying that the Dino Cosmic Fury seasons are the best the show has been in over a decade in terms of the writing, characterization, and overall execution, and I still believe this. However, I also get the sense that behind the scenes, things were starting to fall apart. And that's not the fault of the production team, but the higher-ups at Hasbro. In 2018, when Hasbro bought the rights to PR from Saban and Bandai, it was at the major insistence of CEO Brian Goldner. Before his time at Hasbro, he used to be the president of Bandai America, and became good friends with the creator of Power Rangers himself, I Am Saban. Side note, Brian Goldner had the same birthday as me, so that's neat. Shout out to him. Anyway, it was because of his past ties to Saban and Bandai that he really pushed for Hasbro to acquire the rights to not just make Power Ranger toys, but to own the franchise as a whole. And when that happened, it seemed like there was a real sense of optimism among the fandom. However, this would not last. Brian Goldner left his position as CEO of Hasbro on October 10th, 2021, due to his years-long struggle with prostate cancer. He would pass away the very next day. I personally would argue that Goldner was a major factor in Dino Fury's success, and that under him, many of the restrictions the show's production team had to work under were lifted, and they were able to do things like have the first LGBTQIA character in the show's history, that they had more support to do stuff like that. But when Goldner passed away, it looked like any support from on high slowly began to dissipate. Hasbro stopped making less and less toys that weren't Mighty Morphin related. Hell, there were far less PR toys being made in general, to the point that by the time Cosmic Fury came around, They stopped making new toys for the show altogether outside of a few scattered things like the Morpher for that season. Many fans started to get the feeling that Hasbro stopped viewing the franchise as worth putting resources into, that they just didn't seem to care about Power Rangers anymore. And yet, despite all of this, the production team, led by Simon Bennett, Becca Barnes, and Alwyn Dale, still pulled through, and I believe they brought the long-running series to a mostly satisfying close, that they did their best in spite of little to no support from anyone at the executive level. Now, this is a pattern that I've seen before with another particular series, and it just so happens to be one that's a big favorite of both myself and Lewis Lovhaug, which is why I'm going to make this comparison. I'm of course talking about Doctor Who. Now, I know this next part's gonna come off as random to some of you, and I understand why you'd feel that way, but don't worry, there is a point to this, alright? Basically, I want to compare the Dino Cosmic Fury seasons of Power Rangers to the Sylvester McCoy era of Doctor Who, because if you ask me, these two things actually have way more in common than you think. It's also because both me and Lewis Lovhaug are big Doctor Who fans, and coincidentally, his favorite Doctor is Sylvester McCoy, so there you go. From a quality standpoint, to me, the Sylvester McCoy era was the best the original run of Doctor Who had been since the mid-1970s. Behind the scenes, unfortunately, things were not so great. By the late 1980s, the BBC hated Doctor Who and were looking for any excuse to put the show on ice for good. They tried in 1985 and received a lot of backlash for it.
How can the BBC justify taking a program off the air which earns more money in outside revenue than it costs to make?
So it seemed that they'd try other ways to slowly bring the Time Lord down, whether it be scaling back on the already small budget, cutting the normal amount of episodes per season in half, and even scheduling it on the same day and time slot as an enormously popular soap opera on a rival channel. By 1989, the consistently low ratings seemed to be all the excuse they needed, and in October of that year, the BBC would send a message to the show's producer at that time, John Nathan Turner. He would in turn relay that same message to stars Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, and head writer Andrew Cartmel. The message being that their contracts would not be renewed and Doctor Who would not return in 1990, thus beginning what fans now refer to as the Wilderness Years. Publicly, the BBC said the show wasn't cancelled, but that it would be resting for a while, that it would take a few years off the air, but would be brought back when they felt that the time was right. And aside from one TV movie in 1996, unfortunately, that rest would go on for more than 15 years. Here's hoping Power Rangers fans won't have to wait that long for something new. Oh. Well, I guess that answers that then. We'll talk about this another time. It's funny, the situation that Power Rangers is in right now isn't all that different from what Doctor Who was going through in the 90s and early 2000s. If you're a fan who is looking for new stories that continue the franchise, you'd have to rely on other forms of media that at this point are keeping the show and its universe alive, whether that be in print or with fan-made projects that were able to include actual former stars of the show. Like how it was for Doctor Who back then, it's these things that are keeping the Ranger flame alive and show no signs of slowing down. It's the Power Ranger fans now that refuse to let their beloved show fade into obscurity, and with good reason. Like Doctor Who, I do think Power Rangers will come back. How exactly? Well, prior to March 19th, we didn't really know how. There were rumors of a movie being developed at Paramount, but at this point, whether that's still going to happen, especially after this piece of news, we don't know. Look, I'll go over all of this another time, okay? This portion of the video has gone on long enough, and I really don't think you want this to go on any longer than it has already. It's one of the reasons for why it's taken me as long as I have to finally finish this video. Well, that among other things that's been going on with me lately. Like this, for example. There, you see, I do have a life outside of making videos. Sort of. But I am sorry it's taken me this long to finally get this done. I really am sorry. Your patience really means a lot to me. Thankfully, though, you won't have to wait that long for my next video. I will say that it's not going to be this, okay? It's not going to be this. I'll just leave on-camera me to explain it all. Back to you, me from 2 months ago. Alright, there we go. Now, while this is the end of History of Power Rangers for Lewis, well, for the time being, this is not the end of this little experiment of mine, because of course the planned end is going to be my reaction to History of Power Rangers Time Force. Time Force is my personal favorite season of Power Rangers, and because it's my favorite, these aren't going to be like the ones I've done before. Like, I'm going to add my own analysis to it along with whatever Lewis says, as well as talk about the Sentai that it's based around. This is all just a long way of me saying don't expect these to come out within the next month or so, or hell, even 2 months, because again, I want to make sure that I get this done the way that I want it to be. So it's going to take a while. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to make any more Power Ranger related reaction videos, because in the comments section of part 1 of this, someone asked if I could do a reaction to the Atop the Fourth Wall episode on Power Rangers Shattered Grid. And I thought to myself, maybe I should do that, if for nothing else as a nice way to kind of hold you guys over until these. So that's going to be the next installment in my Linkara Power Rangers reaction video project, or whatever this is. Having said that, it's not going to be the next video that I post. Instead, the next video you'll be seeing from me is going to be another reaction video, but of something a little different. It's going to be me reacting to the 2025 Dead Meat Horror Royal Rumble. Obviously, it couldn't be any more different from Power Rangers, but I had a lot of fun doing this, and you can expect that to be coming out actually very soon, because I actually filmed it in between part 2 and this, just because I wanted to get it out of the way. So expect that from me within the coming days. And one last thing. I don't know if you've noticed, but this video you're watching right now is number 298, which means I'm just one away from getting to my 300th video. And before someone makes the reference, I'll do it myself.
This is Sparta!
There, we got that out of the way. Now, it's not going to be like what I did for the 200th, okay? There's going to be no guest stars, it's not going to be close to an hour long, and there's no storyline attached to it. It's just going to be me. It's going to be a lot more self-reflective, but I'll tell you more about it next time. Anyway, what did you think of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think it's a worthy send-off for the Power Rangers franchise as we know it? Tell me in the comments down below, and as always, if you like what you saw here, then click that like button because it helps me quite a bit. Share this with your friends, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe and click the notification bell at the bottom. That way you'll never miss a video from yours truly. So until next time, I'm Marc Aquino. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Marc Aquino YouTube channel.